And the shit I get myself into. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Junkyard Digs. And today, we have a Blazer that was parked here a number of years ago, flooded, and then crushed by a tree. We're gonna see if we can get it running. Not looking good. So this is Ben. This is the guy that does our merch. He's the one that you all email. It's not me, it's him.
Yeah. Ben
has this. Ben, what happened?
Well, the truck got moved out here. It was supposed to be parked temporarily.
So you like drove it out here?
I drove it here. Then it flooded. Some water came up, so it got left here a little longer. And then a tree fell on it. Yeah, it's kind of right there. If you look really close, you can see that little dent on the, in the roof.
That one.
A little bit on the roof line. So then it just got left. And then it got vandalized. Windows got broken out. And it's just been sitting here deteriorating. It needs to go away from here.
Well, we can at least make that part happen for this video. We've had a few beers and talked about this truck before. This was a built 350 with headers, and this was a bitchin' truck back in the day.
It was a cool ride. I had fun in it. It's a built 350. I don't have the documentation, but I think it's board 30 over and built by a performance shop actually. And it's got headers and had 31-inch mud track tires on it.
Slotted mags.
Yep.
Early 2000s, late 90s thing?
Yep, I drove this late 90s and early 2000s.
Okay.
Maybe through about 03, something like that.
That about makes sense for the stuff I'm seeing on the outside. The interior's still present, at least. The seats aren't great. Windshield's still in there. That's good. We may put that back in place. The thing I'm curious of, first of all, what the hell hit that to bend that body so hard? And second of all, is the frame bent? Or was the floor rusty and it pushed it through? I figured looking at it, maybe it was compromised by rust, but it must have been just one hell of a limb. Probably that tree.
I think it's probably the large piece that's missing from that tree.
It appears to have landed over here.
Yeah.
So this sat for 20 years then?
It's been sitting a long time. Yep.
Oh boy. The acorns. Oh yes, look at that. That is some vintage stuff. Something's been living in the radiator there, but what's the chance it spins over by hand? Probably negative 1,000.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, good thing about Chevys and GMs in general is you can pull that bell housing off or pull the inspection cover and go over tooth by tooth, and usually they break free. So let's get this on a trailer, get it home, and see if it does that, because there's a chance. The story's not over for your Blazer. Okay. There's a chance. Beyond all else, if the frame is straight, you put a different body on it, your truck's back. Yeah. So that just takes finding a K5. So
right.
Have you found one in 20 years?
No.
There's still keys in it?
Yeah.
Oh, see if it starts. Let's drive it on. What are we doing?
I can't get the key to turn. Visor still works.
This. What? This. Something is not my yard? What does this say?
I couldn't figure that out either. Have your big pliers? Oh, there we go. I got it.
Got it? The pliers prevails. Now, will it shift? Probably not.
Reverse.
Well, any gear will move as long as it's not parked. Oh, wait. We can put the transfer case in neutral, too.
Oh, we could. That one feels like it's moving. Moving something now. Well, that's probably.
Well, I'll hit the winch. We'll see what happens out of that.
Okay.
Put my switch back in its place. Stay. That hit so hard, I might have bent the frame. No, it looks fine from down here. From what I could tell, it doesn't look bent, which is crazy saying that and looking at this.
This frame rail doesn't even really have any rust on it.
No, the frame rail's, hell, it's painted up front. Hell, it's painted in the back. Hell, the whole frame's painted. Okay, so you just need the truck part of the truck.
Right.
You just need a new body. You got your Blazer back.
I mean, these Rancho shocks, I'm sure they're still good.
Yeah, right next to the mud tires. Those are still good.
Yeah.
Make sure it's hiding some rust from the previous owner.
Looks like it.
And had no structural integrity left when that tree landed on it, because there's like a foot where this stops and then it picks up over here. Mm-hmm. Yes. Let's get this off now before it hits someone on the road. Oh god, the rocker was actually completely missing.
The rocker?
No, the rocker's just Bondo. Like, just Bondo. And no, it's fiberglass. Someone fiberglassed it all together. Wow.
Structural.
Yes. We all know how good rust is at holding up against trees.
You'll need the weather stripping for the rear window.
Oh, yeah. We don't want that to leak. Oh, by the way, this is probably a good time to mention. We said shirts earlier.
Yes.
We've had a lot of questions about the AMC shirts that were pre-order sale.
Yep. Those are almost ready to ship. They are just finishing up printing and will start shipping in the next day or two.
Yeah, it was a bit of a trial thing for us.
It was.
And there was some learning to be done, to say the least. And we've changed things for the van's going to be out the door a lot faster.
Van will be out faster, yes.
Which is the last week to order right now.
This is the last weekend to get those van shirts, to get your orders in now while you can.
So yeah, AMC shirts going out here next week.
Yep.
Van will be right behind that. So let's go home and see if we can make that spin. Well, here we go. A little investigation has shown that the sticker on the license plate says 2002. So for the first time in 21 years, the Blazer's leaving its grave. She ain't driving out, but I think we can all tell that wasn't quite possible. All right, let's get her home and see if we've got ourselves a good motor, trans, and transfer case. The frame looks pretty good, so I don't think Ben's Blazer story's over yet. I think he just needs a new body. Let's go find out. Yes, blow out all of the leaves. Preferably some of the glass too, but not like too much that it's obvious. Okay, the bingity boppity bashed up Blazer's made it home, and it's yeah, it's good. It's great. This is gonna be fine. Also, yes, as you may have noticed, the last boat video went so well that I found another boat. When this one popped up on Marketplace for 700 bucks, I was like, yeah, I'll take that. Mostly because that right there is a small block Chev. It might be stuck. I don't know. I did pull the drive off yesterday, and well, let's just say it makes the first boat look a lot better. I don't know if this will be a video or not. I'm anticipating if that spins, it just fires up and runs and I have another boat, but I don't know. If I start seeing a lot of problems, I might break the camera out. Oh, bye. Goodbye. Don't get wrecked. It'd be a shame if we dented it. Okay, well, the brakes aren't stuck. That's good. Well, I guess they were for a second, but they're not anymore. All right. Got her in front of the shed with the tools in it. Got the hood open. Let's pull a dipstick on this thing and see what we're looking at. Come on, please be oil. Please tell me it didn't go completely underwater. It was just some. Nope, not a drop. Instead, a very rusty dipstick. This is the opposite of what I was hoping to see. I was hoping that it hadn't flooded so far that it floated the oil out of the block, but yeah, it ain't looking good. Let's see if our carburetor's stuck. This might be a quick episode, but I will try my best to get this sucker to spin. Alright, we won't be needing you, mouse nest in the carburetor. Okay, well, the choke is froze. The carb is not. Interestingly enough, the primaries and secondaries still move. Honestly, a good spot to start might be a garden hose and just clean all this shit out of here. Let's do that. Goodbye, poop. Go away forever. Well, this is gonna take some time. Now, some of you may be worried about me getting the motor wet right now, and to that I say, ha! You're funny. I am merely repeating history.
Oh my god!
Oh, hey, Mook. What's up?
This thing's like bent in half.
You a little bit.
Little bit? Big bit.
From that angle, yeah, I can see where you might see that.
I'd say from any angle, including space.
Alright, she's washed off. She's mostly dried off. I've got a battery in here. Why? I don't really know. I just want to see what happens, I guess. I know. There we go. Oh. Okay, now this is interesting. I haven't looked inside. This sign of a flood, but seeing that with the windshield is sitting, maybe this is just rain and dust. It was out near a gravel road. And this confirms my suspicions. That is the actual metal floor right there. It's pretty much touching the brake pedal. And the seat pretty much touches the wheel with the wheel all the way up. And if you look, both of these seats are kind of pointing in opposite directions. As you can see there. What happened here is the bottom of this truck is really rusty. It was full of fiberglass, so it's kind of hidden. But there's, and the other side is especially bad, but there's nothing under here structurally from the fender to the quarter panel, which is where all the strength is. Tree fall down, go boom. Whole truck compress on top of the transmission and transfer case. And when that hit, it just bent the whole floor and pushed the whole truck down over the frame and trans. So everything is straight underneath, I believe, but it just folded the truck over that drive line. So that's why the seats are pointing in random directions and the truck is shortened. And it also explains how our front and rear are at the correct height, but everything else is bowed without bending the frame. Anyway, yeah, let's see what happens when I turn the key. Believe it or not, nothing. Well, we might as well go straight for the throat and just crawl under this thing, take that cover off, and see if this motor turns with a pry bar on the teeth. Before we do that, actually, let's pull the plugs. The back side of the spark plug looks very clean, actually. I would say this motor does not have a ton of miles on it. There is a good bit of grease on it, though, to disagree with that, so hard to say. They're coming out really nice. Oh, they're... yeah, I mean, I expected a lot worse, to be honest. Don't get me wrong, they are still rusty. But that's a lot better than I was anticipating. What's this one? Okay, that's more what I was anticipating. Yeah. It'll be a miracle if this thing spins. Okay, the other two I need to stand like here, so I'm gonna pop these out and we'll be back. The results are in. Starting with number 4 on the passenger side, not bad. Number 3, not great. Number 2, excellent. Number 1, excellent. Still even has oil on it somehow. And then there's the driver's side. Number 4, not good. Number 3, really not good. Number 2, very bad. And number 1, deceivingly half okay-ish. I hope I'm not wasting my time right now, but there's always that chance. Someone at some point made this, and it is a beautiful little device that they've created to keep the plug from burning on the header. They got a spring holding it in place, and a nut, RTV'd or something, not even RTV, a nut crushed, maybe, onto the wire. That way the piece of wire nearest the header is surrounded by metal and won't melt. I've never seen that, and I'm definitely gonna have to remember it because that is pretty nifty. Either way, let's get the big can of PB Blaster out and start soaking down them cylinders because she's gonna need it. You guys know the drill, although it has been a while since we've done this. Stuck engine, pull the plugs, fill it with ATF, PB Blaster, whatever you got on hand, let it sit overnight. I'm gonna go an extra step on this one, run to town and get 5 gallons of diesel. Hopefully the front and rear mains are good, and hopefully they hold oil, or, well, diesel. And hopefully I can fill that up enough to submerge the bottom of the cylinders too. What's up, Hobbs? What's up? You here to help? Oh, you fell over, Hobbs, you big idiot. As promised, 5 gallons of diesel, a drill battery, a pump, and the oil fill hole in the valve covers. Let's fill her up. Some for you. Some for you. I suppose I should probably put some down the other valve cover too in case those valve guides are sticky. Give it an equal chance. Now many people in this scenario would be like, oh, that thing's a piece of junk. Throw the body away, put a new motor and driveline in it, and you use the frame, that's all that's good. But here's the thing, not everyone has the money to go find a whole new body and a whole new engine when they have an engine right here that hopefully with a little work could still be something good. And that's our whole shtick on Junkyard Digs, is being relatable and affordable so that anyone can go out and do the stuff we do. Yes, we do have a nice shop with a lift and whatnot, but I need that simply so I can make videos fast and I don't destroy my back by the time that I'm 30 so I can make them for a long time. If you'll notice, today we're not at the shop. We are literally in the backyard, and I am literally using a toolbox full of exclusively Harbor Freight tools. So with all that being said, I'm gonna pull every trick I have up my sleeve to show you guys how to hopefully save an engine that's stuck, especially in this case, it being important because, as you can tell, this motor has been built. I believe this is probably, like Ben said, a 30 over motor. It's probably got flat top pistons. I know these are the big spark plugs, the 13/16 plug, which means those are 73 or newer heads, and they are the small chamber heads, so they are spicier compression. This should be a pretty bitchin' motor, and I want to do everything in my power to save it. And I guess right now that's translating to a whole 6 gallons going into this motor, and it's just drinking it, not dripping anything else. So that I like to see. Oh, look, another guest Pish appearance. Oh no, Mookie, I filled it with diesel.
Oh my gosh, I was having myself a little mook nap.
Oh yeah, fall asleep on the bloody floor again.
Yeep.
Yeah. All right, well, I'm gonna go back to filling it with diesel, Mookie.
Bad.
Back to the floor with you.
Bad.
More Mook naps. TM. Oh man, this thing's worse every time I turn around. What am I doing? You know, actually. Oh yeah, this is giving me an idea. I call that the reverse whistling diesel. I use equipment to reshape things. That actually worked way better than I was anticipating, but I do see I need to hit the middle of the windshield a little bit. Allow me to shut the hood. Gotta wiggle it so you don't fold the hood. Call me the chiropractor. Ta-da! The Blazer again. It's no longer like a squished cotton ball. Look at that. I bet the door even closes. Oh, like it was new. Alright, well, on the road to restoration. Let's let that diesel sit in the block overnight and we'll be back in the morning to see if we can get this to spin. I mean, obviously, now it's totally worth our time since it's such a straight truck. See you in the morning. Good morning, everyone. We're back. As you know, this sat all night with diesel. Surprisingly, it held it all night. It's still dripping out of the oil filter over here, which is interesting. I took a few minutes and got our inspection cover off. It is full of, I don't even know what that is, but there was some diesel in there too, so the rear main did leak a little. I suppose the next step here is to get the big pry bar and get under there on those teeth and see if she turns. So what we're gonna do, I know you guys can't see it very well, but right here is our starter, and here is a pry bar. And, oh god, there's headers and everything in the way, isn't there? Maybe I can do it off this side. So what we're gonna do is take our pry bar, put it on either the starter snout or the edge of the trans or something, and get it to where we can pry on the teeth of the flex plate and try to get this thing to move tooth by tooth. Keyword try. Oh, frick. Oh, God, what am I doing? Oh, I can't get to this thing because of the stupid drive shaft and the stupid manifolds. Taking the drive shaft off be enough? Maybe. Alright, I need to do some reconfiguring. We'll return. Alright, our drive shaft is out. I've got an array of different tools here. See if we can get any of these in at the right angle and see if anything moves. Oh, this is not gonna work. Just gotta not break these teeth off. Oh my god. You're so stuck. Can I get you to go back without blowing my fingers clean off? Oh. What the hell am I doing? I can't tell if that's flexing the flex plate or the starter or what I'm seeing. It's almost like I see some, not movement, but some bending. Oh, this thing is so freaking stuck. I can't even get a pry bar on it very good because of the headers, and I'm not taking the headers off. I thought about pulling the motor, and I looked at it, and I can't because the floor is so pressed down onto the top of the transmission, I cannot even visually see the bottom bell housing bolt. I cannot find the bell housing bolts on this motor. I can't see a single one. It's just floor smashed to the motor. I feel like it's too early to give up, especially for the video's sake, but this is kind of the end-all be-all for getting stuff unstuck, is this exact method, and it's not working. Now this way, ideally, you'll be able to get it to just eat, and then back and forth more and more until you can get like half a turn in each direction and then a full turn. If this wasn't a Blazer, it wouldn't be so bad. If it didn't have these damn headers. I don't think there's any saving this. I don't want to give up this early, but I think this is literally a waste of my time. Having seen those plugs and that dipstick and knowing that this has been full of water for 20 years, it's junk. Like, there's no way around it, it's junk. Usually if something sits for 20 years and gets stuck just from sitting without moisture in it, that's when this method works and you can break it free, like my dad's Oldsmobile that we did a few years ago. If it's a Ford and you can't break it free from the crank bolt, you're kind of screwed because you can't get to this ring gear and get all this leverage that you can with the GM. So GMs are a lot easier to get unstuck after sitting from time. This one unfortunately did not sit from time. This is stuck from water. So I think at this point all I can do is pretty much pull the oil pan off and get a look to see how bad it is just for our own entertainment. I suppose I'll drop the diesel out of it and do that. Do-do-do. Do-do-do. This is gonna be interesting. Yep, that's water. Still water. Still water. Now half and half. Now diesel. Holy shit. Something tells me we open this motor up and it's going to be so rusty underneath that we never stood a chance. Had it been sitting normally, like I said, it either wouldn't have been stuck or we would have been able to break it free with this ring gear trick. I've done it before, it works great. Just got to pry off that starter. Make sure you're prying, putting all the pressure up onto the starter, not sideways, or you'll snap the bolts off. So get the pry bar pretty flat. Is there any oil? Not even a little dribble of oil at the end? Nothing? This thing was flooded. Had someone come out and drain the water out of the block like the week after this thing was underwater and then filled it with oil and at least cranked it a bunch to see oil pressure, I bet it still would have been fine. We've had a few flooded vehicles now. I know Mook's F-150 was flooded. Like, I think someone drove it into a river from the story we've heard meeting people at car shows. We drained the water out of that one and the motor's still just fine to this day. Alright, we're gonna call that good. She's drained. Wait, how do I get the bucket out from under here? Okay, well, this has just been further and further downhill, faster and faster for this video. We're currently underneath the truck looking at the oil pan. As you can see, it's got these cheap chrome bolts right here. Well, here's the deal. None of the sockets that are big enough to fit the bolts fit in the groove between this flange and the actual pan. Like, this bolt is literally touching the pan. The corner of it touches the pan. I don't know how you would ever put that on. And beyond that, there's a couple I can get a socket like 2, but they don't fit a 7/16 or a half or a 10 or an 11 or a 12 or a 13. They don't fit any sockets. I don't know what the hell this is. Maybe it was a special aftermarket cheap hardware that came with its own socket. I don't know, but I can't get the oil pan off. I can't even get a single bolt. These on the end, these are 1/2 inch. They fit perfect, but I can't get a single bolt out of this oil pan. So I guess we're just screwed.
Have you tried fire?
I've not tried fire. It's not a bad idea. Good call, Mook.
Yeah. It is called a blazer.
That's true. You got me there. I guess you really don't win them all, and sometimes you lose hard. Okay, here's the deal. Obviously, this motor's junk. Unfortunately, I can't even get the pan off to show you guys how junk. I was excited to see that. I'm sure you were even more excited, but some cheap dinky hardware is going to apparently keep that from ever happening. Also, unfortunately, like I mentioned, I can't get the motor out of the truck. It's literally impossible without removing the entire body, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not sure if I showed it well enough earlier, but as you can see, the floor is completely lifted right here. This is supposed to be the low point, and it is the high point. Like I said, the whole thing is crushed down, so the engine and the transmission are literally touching the floor over there, and you cannot get to the bell housing bolts at all. So we can't make it spin, we can't look at it, and we can't even get it out, which unfortunately means we're done. There's nothing more we can do to this truck. If someone out there watching this has an at least fairly solid, preferably very solid body for a K5 and they're willing to sell it, shoot us an email. Actually, shoot us an email to junkyarddigsmerch@gmail.com, because that goes to Ben, and then he can sift through those and find a body if he wants to find one to put it back on his truck, and we can pull that motor out and fix everything else later. But for today, that's going to do for this. However, that's not going to do for the video, because I'm still determined to hear a small block Chevy Run that I've never had running. And like I mentioned earlier, I happen to have one in this boat right here. So let's take a couple minutes, grab a piece of sandpaper, and see if we can get this thing to fire off. So I did play with this a little bit last night, and I did get it to spin. Turns out I just had a bad solenoid connection all along. So I threw a more charged battery in it, and you hit the key 100 times, and she will rotate. There's no spark. I don't believe there's any fuel. That's a points ignition system. So let's grab a piece of sandpaper, clean that up, and see if we can get this to run a little. Alright, here we go. Cap and rotors off. There are the points right there in the center of the screen. Just kind of open them up like so. Make sure your ignition's off, obviously, so you don't get the zippity zappity TM. This is pretty much all it takes to make just about anything run, especially if it has points. If it's electric ignition, it probably just runs. This is not hard stuff, folks. With the exception of blazers, apparently, and seized motors. That is hard stuff, folks. Pull the screwdriver out. Screwdriver's not necessary, it's just, I have one hand right now. And I'll just sand those up a little bit. I need both hands for that, but once that's done, we should probably have spark. In other news, let's take a look at our carb. This boat has 174 hours on it, so this motor's like new. Like, look at how clean those secondaries in that quadrajet are. Oh, let's check one more thing. Oh God, not again. That's water. We have to change that. God, how do I even do that in this thing? It's got this wall right here. It's such a big ass boat. Alright, I had to borrow this from Tom. But I got an oil extractor. Let's get, oh yeah, look at that. That's all water. That is all water right there. Pure, perfect water. What the hell? I guess this is the way to get oil out of a boat without making a big mess down below. Well, like I said, I don't know how much that holds, but it filled the whole thing. It's right up there, and look at that. There's not the color of oil. What is in this motor? Or what is in this jug, I guess. Alright, let's get 5 quarts of the good stuff in there. Yes, mystery oil. I believe this was some 1040 that was in the back of the truck. Either way, it's clean, so in she goes. Next step, get that filter off and get that thing emptied. Yeah, I'd wondered if I was cranking water up into this thing. Holy cow, look at that. 2005, so it is not original, but it is a Mercury part. So, last oil change, 18 years ago. In you go. Hopefully, this block isn't cracked. The story was that the people I bought it from bought it about 2012. took it out in the lake once, and then never got back to it, so they put it in their heated garage for like 10 years. If that's the case, this should be fine. It probably was the case, because they did pull it out of their garage, but maybe they even bought it like this. Something might be wrong with this motor. That was a lot of water. If anyone around the central Iowa area has any 350 Chevys that are good, I need a couple. Especially if they have any Mercruiser 260s or Mercruiser boat 350 Chevys, please let me know. junkyarddigs1@gmail.com. In fact, if you have any V8 inboard Mercruiser motors that are good, if you have a small block Ford, small block Chevy, 351 Windsor, anything like that, let me know. I am literally always looking for marine motors, even if it's a Chrysler. I'm literally always looking for marine motors because I love using marine motors as cores because they are super clean and fresh if they're not frozen. If they are frozen, don't bother emailing me. I have like 5 of those already. I don't need more. Also, again, I cannot stress this enough. In the central Iowa area, I don't mean to be an ass, but no, I'm not going to drive to Vermont to pick up a $200 motor. I have to work tomorrow. All right, let's get this thing running. Oh, fired for a second there. I think I can already tell that we're only seeing voltage while cranking. Yep, that's exactly what's happening. It's only running when the key is in the run position. Or the crank position, sorry. Let's just check for voltage quick with the key on. There is, but it ain't a lot. Okay, well, you know what? I don't have all the time in the world, but I do have some wire somewhere, so let's run a wire from the positive side of the coil, the positive side of the battery, and this thing will absolutely run. Okay, here we go. And boop. Yes, that is what we want to see. Now it will run, and it will do so indefinitely until I take that wire off, so keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and give her a couple pumps. Maybe a touch of throttle. Remember, the outdrive is off, so I'm not going to burn up the impeller like I did last time with that boat, although it's probably also junk, so it needs replaced regardless. Hell yeah! Hell yes! Finally a running small block. Yes! Oh, it sounds good. Let's go get a listen. It's running on 12-year-old fuel. It doesn't give a shit. Yeah! God, I love marine motors. Listen to that. Find yourself a 1977 truck that sounds like that straight in the factory. You won't. You won't find a 260 horse motor. Best you can do is like 180. Hell yeah. God, I love marine motors. 40 PSI, it's charging. Oh, hang on. Damn it! Oh! Yes! This was the best purchase ever! Alright, we did it. We got a small block Chevy to run in this episode. This episode was an absolute failure for the Blazer as far as getting it running, but it was not so much about getting it running as it was starting the rescue of Ben's 79 K5, and that's exactly what we did. We pulled it out of where it sat for years and started turning some bolts on it. So from this point we need obviously a motor, probably, and a body. And if, like I said earlier, if you guys have a body, let him know, not me, let him know at junkyarddigsmerch@gmail.com. Beyond that, we also got the new boat to run. I love marine motors. They are awesome. With that being said, in about 2 weeks, there's going to be another video that comes out that will also feature a marine motor that will not be going in a boat. So if you guys want to see that and everything else, make sure you subscribe to the channel, Junkyard Digs. Thank you guys very much for watching this episode. We'll see you right here next week for another episode of Junkyard Digs. Stay greasy out there. Peace.